Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out my channel. I really appreciate it. Please click to subscribe. I'm on the road now. We're actually on our way to Los Angeles. Cameraman Mo and I working on a new story. But this episode goes back to new developments with the sheriff in Kentucky who shot and killed the judge. And new details that I've uncovered over the last couple of days. I now have the mental health assessment that was done on the sheriff when he arrived at the jail, and they say that he was in a psychosis and that he even had to be pepper sprayed. That's all new. Also, I got a copy of the grand jury testimony, which is very, very unusual to get your hands on. Normally very secret, where it's explained that the judge did not have a relationship with the sheriff's daughter or wife. That was a rumor initially. We tried to dispel it early on, but now we've got the grand jury transcript, which I'm going to go through. I'm getting into all of it in this edition of Brian Entin Investigates. Hey guys, so I have a ton of new information when it comes to the Sheriff Stines investigation. Sheriff Stines, of course, Mickey Stines, is the sheriff from Letcher County, Kentucky, who is accused of murdering the judge in Letcher County, Kentucky, Judge Kevin Mullins. It was all caught on surveillance video. There was body camera video from after that showed the sheriff being arrested. There's still so many questions about why this happened. Allegations of a secret sex ring involving the judge, him making people in trouble basically have sex with him to get out of trouble, have sex with him right in the judge's chambers. Those are some of the accusations. And then questions about what the sheriff knew and whether that had anything to do with why he murdered the judge. Now, also a major focus on Sheriff Stines' mental health during the time of the event and what could have driven him to do that. And I now have the mental health assessment that was done. This came out as part of a new court filing, and I hadn't seen this yet. And this is the mental health assessment that was done shortly after Sheriff Stines was taken to jail. They did an assessment, and it shows that he definitely was not in his right mind. Let me read you some of this here. This is what they wrote in the evaluation form. It says, upon evaluation of Mr. Stines, it appears that he is still in an active state of psychosis. So they actually said he was in a state of psychosis. He appears disoriented and is only aware of things jail staff tell him. He has no recollection of the recent past. He does not report that he has he does report that he has some paranoia because he is unsure where he is and is told he is incarcerated. So they're saying he didn't even know where he was. He does not appear to understand his charge and is unaware of his surroundings. He denies any suicidal and homicidal ideations. He does present to be responding to internal stimuli during the evaluation. Mr. Stines should continue at high risk level. So they considered him a high risk level when he came into the jail, the sheriff. He has had episodes of combativeness, which has required pepper spray. And that's the first that I've heard of that they had to use pepper spray on the sheriff when he got to the jail because he was in this state of psychosis. And they say it is recommended that he be evaluated again within the next 24 hours. Mr. Stines has recently agreed to take risperidone, 1 milligram, 2 times daily. This began this morning. We will evaluate effectiveness on symptoms when retriaged. So the takeaway, though, is that they said he's in an active state of psychosis, and it was apparently so bad that they had to pepper spray the sheriff when he actually got to jail. So now the attorney for Sheriff Stines, his defense attorney, has filed this new motion essentially trying to get the indictment thrown out, the grand jury indictment. It was a grand jury that met, grand jury, of course, is just regular people who meet to decide whether to pursue charges. They get evidence from the prosecution. And the defense attorney, and this is new, is asking for that indictment to be thrown out because he is claiming that this mental health information, partly what I just read you, this evaluation from jail and other things, were not included in the grand jury testimony. When the detective testified to the grand jury, the defense attorney is claiming that a lot of this mental health information was not included and that the grand jury didn't get a good picture of just how disturbed the sheriff actually was. In the motion, it says Detective Clayton Stamper testified to multiple false statements before the Letcher County grand jury. The testimony prejudiced Mr. Stines and resulted in an indictment. The case was presented to the grand jury approximately 2 months after the defendant's arrest and preliminary hearing. And there's a lot Sheriff Stines' attorney says the detectives knew about Sheriff Stines diminishing mental health, but they didn't tell the grand jury. Even that the sheriff had talked about a concern that someone was going to kill his wife and daughter and was going to get a bulletproof vest. Again, something new I didn't know. These reports that the sheriff was so paranoid ahead of this shooting with the judge that he even talked about getting a bulletproof vest, something that did not come in during the grand jury testimony. In the grand jury testimony, the detective actually testified that Sheriff Stines was in his right mind. And by the way, when I talk about grand jury testimony, this is normally extremely secret. I don't think in any of the cases I've covered I've ever got my hands on grand jury transcripts. And what's interesting is we have at least a big chunk of the grand jury transcripts in this case because they were released as part of this filing from the defense. And I think what happened is they were released, we got them, a lot of other media got them, and then it seems they quickly realized that, oh shoot, we accidentally released the grand jury transcripts and they've taken them off the website from what I can tell. But they've been reported on now. I've now got my hands on them. And so we've actually got the transcripts of what was said during the grand jury testimony. And that's how we know that a lot of this mental health information was left out, that the grand jury, they had questions, by the way, but that a lot of their questions went unanswered, that they did not include a lot of the information that they had about Sheriff Stines' mental health in the grand jury proceedings. The grand jurors asked for all of Stines' medical records, and they were only read a snippet from the doctor that he saw the day before the shooting, which did not include the doctor's diagnosis. And additionally, the grand jurors specifically subpoenaed all of Mickey Stines' health records from the jail and were not given them prior to or during the grand jury proceedings, from what we can tell from the transcripts. Also, there's some new clarity on another issue that came up, really a rumor that started shortly after the sheriff shot and killed the judge. And it's sort of still been circulating about whether the judge had some kind of communication with the sheriff's daughter or the sheriff's wife, and whether that could have something to do with the motive. And apparently that is not true. We reported early on that it seemed just like a rumor, but now there is more information from the grand jury testimony that this was just a rumor. You remember shortly after Sheriff Stines shot Judge Mullins to death, he was seen on video talking with Mullins and then using Judge Mullins' phone to make a call. And it was later revealed that the call had been to his daughter, whom the sheriff had failed to reach earlier after calling on his own cell phone. What's interesting is he used the judge's cell phone, and you can see this on video. He takes the judge's cell phone and he used the judge's cell phone to call his daughter. At a preliminary hearing before the grand jury proceedings, Detective Stamper testified about this. And I'm going to read you this part of the grand jury transcript. And again, it's so rare for us to have these transcripts, but they were released publicly. This part specifically talks about that rumor, again, that was circulating that perhaps something between the judge and the sheriff's daughter may have caused all of this. So basically, the prosecutor asks, and this is again in front of the grand jury, to the detective, Detective Stamper, throughout your investigation, have you become aware of some speculation in the community involving Judge Mullins and the daughter of Sean Stines? And the detective says, I have. And what is Sean Stines' daughter's name? And then they give the name, which I'm not going to give. How old? 17, I think, or 16. She's in high school. Okay, I'm not sure. She's a juvenile. Has she been interviewed? And they say she has. And was she specifically asked about the speculation in the community? And they say she was. And what was her response? She denied any allegations of having any contact whatsoever with Judge Mullins. So this is the daughter. And by contact, what do you mean? By social media, by text, by phone, in person, any kind of contact whatsoever. She denied it. Did she deny any sort of relationship? Any? Yes. That was all just a rumor. This is what the detective is saying. Okay, did you ask the wife of Sean Stines about this? Yes, she was asked the same questions. There were also rumors about her having some kind of relationship with Judge Mullins, and she denied those allegations. Was she specifically asked about whether or not she had any knowledge of her daughter and Judge Mullins having any sort of relationship? Yes, the detective said. And what was her response to that? That was not true. Okay, now as part of your investigation, did you become aware of the daughter's phone number? I did. And did you also obtain and examine Judge Mullins' cell phone? I did. Did you also obtain and examine Judge Mullins' phone records for the cell phone? Yes. Based upon your review of those records thus far and the phones thus far, does there appear to be any communication between Judge Mullins' phone and the daughter's phone? And then they say none whatsoever. Was there a call between the two of those numbers on September 19th, 2024, between the daughter's number and Judge Mullins' number on the day of the shooting? And they say there was. Okay, and based on your investigation, were you able to determine the source of the call? Yes, Sheriff Stines used Judge Mullins' phone while he's sitting in the chair in front of Judge Mullins' desk to call his own daughter. So there was a call from the judge's phone to the sheriff's daughter, but it was the sheriff making that call using the judge's phone. Was her phone number stored in the judge's phone? It was not. Is there any way to retrieve any of it, anything deleted off the phone? Yes, there's ways. What about social media like Snapchat, any other types? There's no evidence, the detective says. Is that traceable? Yes, it's traceable. There's no evidence of any kind of communication with them. And then a juror asks, with the comment you made earlier that one of the deputies said they were trying to steal the family, what was the cause of that? And then the prosecutor says, I guess so in the interviews with the daughter and wife, sorry, some of this is confusing with the transcript. Were there any concerns about their own personal safety? And then the answer is no. So the detective is saying no, they did not have concerns about the personal safety. Was there any way to corroborate any sort of statement that they had been kidnapped based on what was being said? And no, they actually did not. So basically here they're shooting down this rumor, which went rampant in the beginning, that the motive for this shooting was that the sheriff was upset because the judge had some kind of relationship with his daughter. And his daughter now and his wife are both saying that is not true. That has come out crystal clear in this new grand jury testimony. So if you remember, Sheriff Stines walked into the judge's chambers and asked all the other folks in the chambers to leave. This was all on video so that he could have a private word with the judge. And the interaction, there's this surveillance camera so you can see it. But this is important. The video had no sound. And the reason there was video in the judge's chambers, a lot of people have asked me that. Is it normal for there to be surveillance cameras in the judge's chambers? How did we get this video? The reason that there is video is because they, by the way, it's not normally allowed under Kentucky late law, but there was this federal civil lawsuit that was filed by an inmate in the Letcher County Jail saying that she was forced to have sex with a sheriff's deputy in Judge Mullins' chambers or would have to go to jail. And she had sex because she wanted to stay on home arrest and to go to drug rehab. And following the filing of that lawsuit, there was this deputy, Ben Fields, who was arrested for rape. I know there's so much here, by the way. I know there's so much to this story and there's so many layers, but just bear with me. The deputy was arrested, Ben Fields, for rape, having sex with the inmate in the judge's chambers, who was unable to consent. And Fields was convicted of rape 3, served almost 6 months in jail. And the federal lawsuit, it remains ongoing right now with settlement stocks at a standstill. However, through the federal lawsuit, investigators questioned the alleged victims of Ben Field. As part of this federal lawsuit, again, they questioned witnesses, potential victims, and one of those women who they interviewed, again, as part of the federal lawsuit, which the sheriff was going to have to testify about, one of the women that they interviewed talked about seeing a video of the judge, not just the deputy, not just Ben Fields, but the judge having some kind of sexual relations in his chambers. We have part of that interview that was done as part of this whole investigation. Listen to this.
But he does have some videotapes of some stuff in the judge's chambers.
What kind of stuff?
Just with girls sexual and stuff.
What describe? Have you seen the videos?
I've seen one partly, just him having sex with girls for to be able to get out of jail.
Who was having sex?
Ben and just some higher ups up there.
Who?
The judge and.
You saw the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you see on the video? I mean,
I've seen Judge Mullins having sex with a girl.
Who was the girl?
I don't know, because I don't know a lot of people from over there.
Where was it at?
In his office, in the judge's chambers.
Is that the same place that you were meeting Ben? Is that how you know it was the judge's chambers?
Yeah.
And this was Judge who?
Mullins.
So what's interesting is there was this federal lawsuit. There were these interviews done. There was that specific interview where the judge was talked about. Okay, investigators knew that there was a woman who said that that she had thought she had seen video of the judge having sex in the chambers. And what's interesting is back to the grand jury testimony with the sheriff. This actually sort of comes up during the grand jury testimony. And this is another thing that the Sheriff Stines' defense has an issue with. Let me just read you this part from the testimony. One of the jurors says, "I have a question. You said ongoing lawsuit against the sheriff's office." So this had come up. And then the prosecutor said, "Yes." And then the juror asked, "Did Judge Mullins have any relation to that case in any way?" So the juror was smart enough to ask about that. And the response was no. No. That the answer was no. "To your knowledge, was Judge Mullins involved?" And the detective says, "No. To my knowledge, no. No involvement." And then the prosecutor says, to your knowledge, was Judge Mullins involved?" And the detective says, "No. To my knowledge, no. No involvement," which again is just kind of interesting when you go back to that audio clip that I just played. I don't know if the detective had never heard that audio clip or what, but the judge was a part of that investigation. It's right there in that audio clip. He was pulled in some way, and from our sources, the sheriff was potentially concerned about having to give a deposition related to what the judge knew about all of this. So interesting getting to read the grand jury transcripts. Again, very, very rare. And also interesting when you compare all of this to what I was told by Taya Adams, who is the woman who I interviewed when I went to Letcher County, Kentucky, who told me she personally had sex with the judge in the chambers countless times to get out of trouble. And I just want to remind you a little bit of what she said, because then you can kind of see how that connects into this bigger puzzle of everything else that's come out. Listen again to a little bit of what Taya said. So what was your first interaction with the judge?
I knew him before because my sister worked for the Commonwealth Attorney for a really long time. Like, I grew up in his office and stuff. So whenever he got elected to be Commonwealth Attorney, and we moved over into City Hall, and then Kevin was the assistant Commonwealth Attorney, and his office was like across the road from it. And I was kind of like informal intern in there, like learning office management and stuff. And I went over to his office to learn how to take a deposition. And that was the first interaction that I had with him as far as the sex and stuff goes.
What happened?
I gave him oral with my shirt pulled down, and whenever we were done, he threw money in my face, told me to clean myself up, and reminded me that I knew better than to tell my sister.
And what was his job at that time?
Assistant Commonwealth Attorney. And we would do sex parties and perform shows and have sex with them for money, things like that.
Where were the parties?
Various places. There are different cabins. There's an apartment down like toward Thornton that they would use that's got like mirrored ceilings and a bidet and a sex swing and all the things. Yeah.
Did you feel like you could say no?
No. No, and they would make sure to make you feel as small and degraded and belittled as possible to take your power away, you know?
What sort of things would they do?
But also, like, I have to say, like, we were having fun too, you know? Like, we were doing drugs, we was doing coke, doing a lot of cocaine, partying, you know? Like, it wasn't like they were just like, they weren't raping, like, physically, like, you know, what people think about when they hear the word rape. It was consensual. But it was the thing that we were so young, and then they used it against us and to destroy our lives later.
How so?
With the legal system. And CPS. Systematically removing your whole life, piece by piece.
Did they ever tell you that you couldn't say anything?
Yeah. I mean, that was just a given, you know. And, like, who would believe it anyway, because the whole town's doing it, you know. Nobody cares. They're all swingers. It's all a big party to them. It was just, like, so normal.
Did you ever have sex with him after he became judge?
Yeah.
When he was the judge?
Yes. I've had sex with him in the chambers. I've had sex with him upstairs.
You had sex in the chambers?
Yes.
How did that?
It was not the room that's on film. That's on where that camera is, where the murder and stuff happened. That's not the room that was always the chambers. I don't know, like, I think it might be behind that where it was. But there was, like, a different desk and everything in there. That's not the same room.
And how did that happen?
What?
The sex in the chambers. I mean,
We would just like, sometimes we'd just go over there and hang out, and he'd be like, just hang out. Let me go sit on the bench for a while. I'll be in a minute. You know, and everybody would come back there and smoke and stuff after. The girls who, they would bring them up from the jail for the house arrest people and stuff. They would have sex all over the place with them too.
From the jail?
Yeah.
Were you ever there when that happened?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah. Yeah, I knew the girls personally. Yeah. They were my friends and family. They were the people that we lived with on the streets.
So they would
The
bring
other ones that they've done the same thing to and taken their kids and slammed them and put them with all these big crazy charges.
So, I mean, you're saying it like it's so normal, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So the judge would have sex with inmates from the jail?
Yes.
And you saw it?
Yes. I was part of it. I was one of them. Not just from being in jail, like coming in off the street and seeing them. Yeah.
How did they keep it a secret?
It wasn't a secret. Wasn't a secret.
Why did you feel like you had to have sex with the judge?
Because he's the one with the power. He holds my entire life in his hands. He's the one that makes the decisions over whether I get to keep my children or not. He's the one that makes the decisions on whether I go to jail or whether I get a, like, they would drug test me all the time, and I would pass it, and social services would come in and say, like, no, she failed it, and I would have to make them lab it every time because I wasn't failing it. That was the one good thing that Kevin did for me when my twins, we fought for them for months. Finally got them back in the home. Social services was so harassing and so bad that he called her out in court. He said, that's enough. He said, you have taken this too far, and I'm reporting you to Frankfurt. And he called, the ombudsman, like, contacted me and to supposedly open an investigation against the child services here. And I never heard nothing about it.
Did the judge ever say, you have to do this, or if you do this,
You come see me 3 times and we'll take care of this. If it's a ticket or something, you know, or you get some minor charge, some petty charge, come visit me a few times, we'll take care of it.
He would say that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
And how many women do you think were also doing this?
Total over the years, hundreds. Yeah. And not just for the women who had charges. Like if your man or somebody, your child is in there, then you could go see him for that too.
And everybody knew this was going on?
Yes. Yes.
So what did you think when the sheriff killed the judge? When
My
you found
heart
out?
just like exploded in relief. I thought finally somebody is going to see this, because now they can't look away. They have to look. They have to see what's happening here. And then it's been all this time and still not seen anything happening, you know. Nobody's saying anything. People have been making videos and coming out with their story for a long time, but they're being retaliated against to the point that they're leaving this. They've had to pack up and leave homes that they own here and leave the state and go rent somewhere else because they've ran them out of town.
Do you feel nervous talking about this? Have you been retaliated against?
I'm a little bit nervous, but I also know that God's got this, you know, and that our kids, I don't want our kids to have to grow up in this town like it has been for us. Because once they get their hooks in you, they never let you go. You don't get to live. You don't get to choose your life. You don't choose your own path. They do that for you.
Has anyone tried to intimidate you into not talking?
Like comments on Facebook and yes, a lot of victim blaming, shaming, stuff like that, petty stuff. But then also we had the message from the jailer's sister that said that they started it, she's going to finish it. And she's on Facebook like slandering Liz, saying she went through like hours of footage to catch a freeze frame of her eye like glitching like in the middle of a blink or something, and put it on there on Facebook. Look, she's high. We need to call CPS to come take her kids. And that's how it happens. They'll call CPS on you, and then they will take your children unfounded for nothing, for no reason. Or like in my case, the court ordered me to take Suboxone, and then showed up at the hospital when I gave birth to take my child because she had Suboxone in her system. She had Subutex in her system. They said my prescription wasn't valid. It was. My clinic had closed like a couple weeks before I went into labor, but I still had a whole month's prescription for that month with pills left over that I hadn't even taken yet. And that was their grounds for taking her.
How many times would you say you had sex with the judge in the courthouse?
Countless.
Countless.
Or sexual relations of some sort. Yeah.
I mean, if you had to put a number on it.
I don't know. Have you seen my record? It's a long one.
And he basically...
He's been part of every charge I've ever had.
And when you would get a charge, what would he say?
He'd laugh at me, tell me come see him. We'll get it figured out or whatever. But he never did. He ended up just like slamming me. They slammed me with all them other crazy charges there at the end. Like once they were done with me, I think that they got scared. And something about it is they don't like for us to get sober. When we get sober, we start to heal and we start to speak on who hurt us. And they don't like that. So they'll send people out to relapse you and pull you back into their nonsense.
Do you know why the sheriff killed the judge?
I don't, but I have my own suspicions and beliefs.
What do you think?
I think that he's seen that nothing was ever going to stop. Nothing was ever going to change unless something big happened. I don't know what it was that triggered him to actually do that. Like, I don't know. I couldn't say. But knowing everything, and then if you notice, they put that charge on Ben Fields, right? Like he's the only one or something. And Mickey ended up getting named in a lawsuit for not doing anything about it or not properly training them. So I wonder, like, if he was like this is so far out of my hands, what am I supposed to do? It's like all these people here that have evidence, like physical evidence of all these horrible things that they've done to them, are just hiding it because there's nobody to give it to. Like what, you know?
What do you think of? I mean, what do you make of the sheriff? What is his sort of reputation?
He's got a good reputation. He was well respected. He was always good to me, fair, firm. You know, he'd take you to jail and stuff, but he wasn't like a groper and raper and stuff like the other ones. And he was always good to me.
Did he know about everything going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it bothered him. Like, I really do. Because I asked for house arrest. I kept asking. Over and over, I kept saying, Mickey, please let me go on house arrest. Like, this is crazy. And you know these charges on me are crazy. So every time I'd get him in the elevator, taking me to court, I'd beg him. He'd say, well, we'll see. And then he never would put me on the list. And it makes me wonder why now.
Did anything ever happen to you in the jail?
All sorts
I mean,
of
because you talk
things.
about having sex with the judge, but that was mostly when you were out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But what about when you were in jail?
Yeah, the jail workers and stuff, a lot of them, they would come up to the doors, stuff, they want to see your titties. They want you to come up so they can put their hands in the beanhole and touch you, things like that. There was like this old stairwell in the middle of the jail across from the med room. Like they would take girls in there and stuff sometimes.
How do all these officials get away with this?
They run it all. They run it all. Their rehab programs and stuff, they're all in it together. They all got their hands in it. The drug court, they just keep extending your sentence. How is that? Do you know what happened with my case? We had the fight. They charged us with unlawful imprisonment in a holding cell beside the booking desk. They charged us with unlawful imprisonment, which is kidnapping. That's the charge that stuck. And they told me I had 7.5 years total. I get to prison and get my time sheet. I had 12.5 years. So I went and seen legal aid. They said once the final judgment is filed, there's nothing else that you can do. It's final. So I did my time. I made parole upon completion. I did all their programs and stuff that I was eligible to do. And when I got out, they tried to make me to go to drug court. They tried to add drug court onto my sentence. And I threw a fit. I said, no, this is not right. And this was not part of the plea deal. And y'all already screwed me and gave me 5 extra years anyway. We're not doing this. My parole officer went back in his office and he came back out and said, well, they agreed that if you would do aftercare for 6 months, that you don't have to go to drug court. So I did their aftercare. I did their MRT classes, anger management, parenting, you name it, I did it. I served out. I went to go get my gold seal. I was so excited and so proud that I accomplished it and that I was done. I finished it, you know. Like I've worked so hard my whole life just to get out from under this place. Finished it. I go in to get my gold seal, my certificate, and he says, the state says they're not going to release you because of your child support until it's paid in full. That just destroyed me. That crushed me. And I still didn't know, like, what Cool had said for a while after that. Like, that's a more recent development when I got on there and seen that I'm on parole till 2099. And I've been trying to find somebody from the outside for a while to look at this case, like, because nothing about it is right.
So for people who aren't from here, I mean, there's obviously a lot of people on drugs or have been on drugs.
Yes.
Does that just make them vulnerable to this whole system?
It does, and they use it. They start giving you drugs as a minor. Like, so you're already addicted. You're already addicted. So they use that to keep control over you.
Do you think
it's diabolical?
Do you think they think, oh, no one will listen to these people because they have records, they have been on drugs?
And that's why they want to keep us messed up and, you know, out of it, so we don't have any credibility. Yeah.
So again, that was Taya Adams. That was a story she told. I'm told that there are other alleged victims who want to speak but are scared because they're still in living in the county there and worried about what might happen. I do plan to make another trip out there, though, to get more of their stories. And that's really the latest. That's the latest that's came out of this new grand jury transcript, and the latest filing from the defense trying to throw out the charges because saying that the grand jury wasn't given all the information, which is what I just went through. So it'll be interesting to see how the judge rules on that. And I continue to get tips on this case, so I'll keep you guys posted. I'm sure I'm going to be doing a lot more episodes on it. Thank you guys so much for checking this one out. Please click to subscribe. Thank you for all the support, and I'll talk to you guys later.